Hello everyone. In this video, we will be talking about JavaScript loops. So let's look at the topics that we are going to cover. We will be covering the following concepts. First of all, what are loops? Then we'll be talking about three different kind of loop. One is for loop, then while loop, and then there's a special kind of loop that is there in JavaScript only, that is for in loop. Okay. And also we'll be talking about how to break the loop in between. Okay. So let's start with the topic one by one. So in real life also, when we are communicating with people, sometimes we like to repeat instructions. Okay. But the question is, do we really like repeating them? Okay. See, let's say I want to say a particular thing to a group of 10 people. The ideal way would be I would just, tell them all together rather than, going to them individually and telling them the same thing. Okay. So this problem that comes in real life communication, that comes in programming also. So in real life communication, you can think of other possible conditions where we would like to repeat instructions to multiple people. Like for example, mark all my old customers as special customer. This is one of the conditions e-commerce website can decide. Okay, or give a copy of this assignment or notes to all the fourth year students. Okay, so these can be a large number of students. Okay, and you want to give a particular assignment to all the fourth year students. Okay, so this is again a condition where you would like to repeat the instruction, which is giving the assignment for a lot of people. Okay, then there is while the temperature is less than x degrees, keep serving food, hot food. Okay, so this is the condition where you are not making a decision based on like distribution. We are making a decision based on condition. We are saying that if the temperature is less, you have to keep repeating this instruction, you have to keep serving hot food. Okay, so we are performing a check based on a particular condition. And in the fourth example that is given, that is find the total skill score of the find the total skill score of all skill levels of this candidate. So you are learning on advisor.com, you have different skill levels, you have different modules inside them, you have different videos, you are getting a score for completing your modules, etc. So when I'm calculating the total skill score, I would ideally like to find out the sum of all the skill scores of all the levels. Okay, so this is one of the conditions that that will come to us as advisor.com developers. Okay, so these are a few conditions that you can think of in real life where you would like to repeat a particular set of instructions to multiple people based on some condition. In first case, the condition is that the people should be old customers. In the second case, the condition is that people should be fourth year students. Okay, in the third case, the condition is that the temperature should be less than x degrees. Okay, and in the fourth case, the condition is that you have to find this for all the candidates. Okay, so these are few real life possibilities. Now let's look at how we do programming of these kind of instructions in JavaScript. In JavaScript world or in programming world, the way this is written is using loops. Okay, so the concept of loop is used for repeating instructions based on some condition. So there are three kinds of loop that we'll be dealing with throughout our JavaScript journey mostly. One is for loop, then while loop, and the third one is for in loop. Just to introduce them, for loop runs for a specified number of times. You can specify how many times you want to run this loop. Okay, and it will run it for you. Okay, and whatever piece of instruction that you put inside the brackets of this loop, that will run for that number of times. Okay, then we have while loop that runs till a particular condition is met. Okay, or a particular condition is true. Like I gave you the example of weather, where if the temperature is less than x degree, keep serving food. So that is an example of while condition. Then you have for in loop, which loops through the properties of an object and also some arrays also. Okay, so I'll walk you through this special loop that is there in JavaScript. Okay, and I'll tell you the advantage of for in loop. So let's go through them one by one and see their implementation, see their example, and how they really work behind the scene. So the first type of loop we'll be talking about is for loop. It's actually the most easiest and the most famous loop. So most programs, like 60% of the time or 70% of the time, you'll see that people prefer for loop only for doing their iterations. Okay, so let's go through the syntax first, okay, and then I'll show you an example of for loop. Okay, so the syntax goes something like this. First of all, you'll have to write for keyword, okay, to specify that you are writing a for loop. Then you have to put a condition in the brackets, okay, just like you are doing you'll be doing in conditionals and etc. Okay, you can put conditions in the bracket, okay, and then you have to put the opening and the closing curly brackets, and whatever code block you write in between, it will be run for that number of time, whatever is there in the condition of the loop. So there are three statements that are part of for loop. Statement 1 is executed before the loop starts, okay, so it's like an entry statement. The loop checks this entry statement and then makes its move to the next part, okay. In statement 2, you define the condition which decides when the loop will exit, okay. So we are defining the entry, then we are defining the exit condition also, so that the loop is not going infinite, okay, it's ending somewhere. That is very critical, okay. Step 3 is it's like statement 3 is where you actually verify you actually modify the counter or the condition that is involved in statement 2. So obviously if I'm giving an entry and I'm giving a condition that you can enter this loop, or this loop has to be executed only if this condition is true, that condition needs to be changed somewhere. So basically you can do that using the statement 3, or you can do it inside the loop also. So it's basically optional. If you don't want to write statement 3, that's perfectly okay. You can write it inside the code block also. So I'll give you an example of this for loop now in JavaScript, okay, so you can understand it better. Okay, let me start the example of for loop by giving you a normal condition or a normal problem statement that you can get without loops present in your life. Okay, so in this case, for example, I have an array containing all the vegetables, like a few of the vegetables: carrot, potatoes, tomato, pumpkin, spinach, etc. Okay, and now I want to access this information and print it in my alert message. Okay, now before loops, before using loops, we all the choice we had was to write it like this. We had to know the index of the element, okay, and we can print them individually, like vegetable 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But you see how ineffective this is, because if it's a very big array, like let's say this array contains all the vegetables present in the world, then this will be a very huge program just to do a very simple thing, that is printing the name of the vegetables. Okay, so this is a very ineffective way of doing things. Okay, if I run this program, okay, in the browser, what happens is it just prints all the vegetables that I've mentioned here, okay, carrots, potatoes, tomato, pumpkin. But I had to write a very big program, okay, to do a very simple thing. Now to avoid this, you can use loops. Okay, so I've written a very simple loop here. I'll just get rid of this, okay, and I'll write the loop. Okay, and before walking you through the code, I would like to run it first and show you the results. Okay, so I've replaced all that bunch of statements with just 3 statements here. Okay, and let me show you the result. So if I open my browser, if I hit refresh, it says carrots, potatoes, tomato, pumpkin, spinach, turnips, mushroom, broccoli. So all the vegetables that were there in my array have been printed on my screen by merely writing 3 lines of code. Okay, this is where this is the kind of situation where loops really come in handy, where you have to deal with a very big information and you want to iterate over it. Okay, just like I told you in the examples. So now let's walk through the loop statement one by one. Okay, so in loop, the syntax is same that I told you. First there is a for statement, then there is a condition, then there is something inside the brackets which is doing something. Like in this case, I'm printing the alert message. Okay, now let's understand what is really happening in this case. I have declared an entry point, that is I equal to 0. I have just assumed a variable I equal to 0 as a starting point. Why did I select 0? Because I know that array index start with 0. That is an information that we already know. Okay, so I just assigned a variable I equal to 0 because I wanted to print the first element of the array first. Okay, then I've written a condition I is less than vegetables.length. See, vegetables.length is something that will give you the length of this array, okay, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are like 8 vegetables in this array. So this function will, this property will return 8 as the result. Okay, so this is basically same as writing I less than 8. Okay, but I'll just write it as a variable because if more vegetables are added in this array, it automatically take the length. Okay, so Then we have so another thing that is important is this semicolons. You have to put this semicolons, otherwise JavaScript will give you an error. Okay, okay, and then we have third part, that is a counter, where I'm just adding I 1 to I. Okay, so this is equivalent to writing I plus 1. Okay, so if you want to write I equal to I plus 1, you can write it like this, I plus plus. Okay, so now what is really happening is, so these two are the, first is the entry statement, second is the condition which specifies till what time the loop is going to run, and third is the part which runs when the instruction inside is completed. Okay, so when alert statement is completed, it's then only I plus plus is run. Okay, so let me show you, like, so now if I just dry run it in my mind, right in my screen, what is really happening is, so this loop starts. Okay, it's going to I equal to 0. On I equal to 0 there is carrots. Okay, so it's alerting carrots. Okay, like, the message is coming something like this: variables 0. Okay, so it's alerting carrot because carrot is at variable 0. Okay, then this statement is being executed, that is I is equal to variable I less than variable dot length. So basically this is checking, to make sure that I is not, like it's less than length of the variable, the length of the array. Okay, in fact this check is performed in the beginning only. Okay, so in this case also I equal to 0 was there, so I was less than the length of the vegetable, that was 8. So that why this loop was executed, and then after this statement, this third statement is executed, that is I plus plus. So it's increasing the counter. I'll show you with the help of alert message. I guess that will give you a better context. So what I'll do is I'll alert I here, and again I'll alert I here also. Okay, so let me show you again. If I run this program in a browser, let's see what happens. It says 0, then carrots, then 0. Okay, then 1. Okay, so what happens when the loop ends, it the I is automatically becoming 1. Okay, then potatoes, then 1, then 2. Okay, then tomatoes, then 2, then 3. Okay, and so on. So basically, this is how the loop is, this is how this goes on. Okay, so it's this is actually equivalent to writing, you can actually get rid of this third condition and you can write it here also. Okay, so that way your I will increment before exiting the loop. Okay, so like I told you, the third condition is optional. You can write it here or you can write it inside your programming block. That is purely your choice. Okay, if I run this program, I guess previous program is still running. Let me just end it quickly. I'll go to my browser, I'll hit refresh. Okay, it says 0, then carrots, then it 1, then for 1 it's potatoes, then 2, then for 2 it's tomato, then 3, for 3 is pumpkin, 4 it's spinach, and so on. So I've been able to put a very neat trick by using loops. All I'm doing is I'm just varying a number, and using that number I'm able to iterate through all the elements of this loop. Okay, so this is how for loops are. Okay, I would recommend that you follow this 3 statement approach most of the time because it's safe and sound. Okay, and this is something that you will find in the most of the cases when you are using for loops. Okay, so this is how it operates. Okay, and this is how you have to use it in the multiple situation. So right now I'm giving you only one example of for loop. Okay, because see, we will be using loops a lot in our programs that are coming in the next few videos. Okay, and in the advanced videos and in the main programming also, in backend and front end. So I'm not going to stress over a lot of programs here in this video and waste your time. Okay, instead we will learn it by writing more and more programs, just like we decided in the beginning. Okay, so I hope you have got how this program work, how loops work. Okay, what you can do with this, and what's the use case scenario. In most of the cases, all you have to do is play with this kind of counter and get these kind of results. Okay, so I hope this is clear to you. Let's move on to the next loop, that is while loop. So the next loop in question is while loop. The difference with while loop is it runs till a particular condition is true. Okay, so instead of following a counter like logic, okay, it checks for a particular condition whether it's true or false. Okay, and if it's true, it executes the code block, otherwise it doesn't. Okay, so unlike the for loop, you'll have to specify the change inside the code block itself. Okay, in for loop you had a condition, you have the option to change the variable or the counter in the form of third statement, but here you don't have that. Okay, so you'll have to do it separately, and in most cases the programs are written in real life in a way where these variables are depreciated automatically based on some program conditions. Okay, so let me just quickly show you a very neat program depicting while loop. Okay, so I've written a very simple program. Okay, this is just like 1 2 3 4 5 lines of code, and let me show you what they do. Okay, so I'll just open my browser, I'll hit refresh, and it says 5 4 3 2 1, and then it stopped. Okay, so now let me go to the program and show you what really happened. Okay, so first I assigned a variable y var I is equal to 5, so I assigned a value 5 to variable. Okay, then I write while. Okay, this is the syntax. First you have to write the keyword while, then you have to specify the condition, and then you have to specify the code block. Okay, so in this case the condition is while I is greater than 0 and I is less than equal to 5, first put alert message of I, then reduce I by 1. Okay, so this is the condition I have written in the program. Okay, if I is greater than 0 and I is less than 5, then you have to do this, and that's what really happened in front of your eyes, didn't it? The program ran from 5 to 4 3 2 1, and before hitting 0 it stopped. Okay, so this is now to again show you how this logic is working behind the scene is, if I put alert I also, okay, the same thing is happening. Okay, oh, in fact alert I is what's really printed. Okay, so the same thing is happening like in for loop also, but only in this case the changing factor is inside the loop. Okay, so I'm changing the variable, instead of putting it here in the form of third statement, I'm changing it inside the loop. Okay, so this is how while loops look like. Again, this is a very simple implementation. You will probably get a lot of big implementation in the real life. Okay, but I just want you to be familiar with the syntax right now. Okay, and we will be writing more while loops in real life scenarios in the coming video, and you will get better hands-on practice in this. Okay, especially in the advanced levels. So I hope the syntax is clear to you. This is how while loop is written. Now I'll move on to the next loop. Okay, before proceeding to foreign loop, I would like to tell you how to break a loop in between. Okay, so there is a break statement for breaking a loop operation in between. Let me just show you a quick example of the same. I'll upload my Sublime text. I prepared a very neat example for doing that. Okay, so this example is basically finding your friend from a friend list. Okay, so I have a friend list array. Okay, and this program is basically what it's doing, it's asking you the name of the friend you want to find, name of the user you want to find, and it tells you the position of that user in this array. Okay, so let me just run this script for you first. Okay, and then walk you through the logic step by step. So I'll just open my browser, I'll hit refresh, and it says enter the name of the friend you want to find. I'll just write Sid. Okay, and it says user found at position 2. Okay, so now let me walk you through the logic, what's really happening behind the scene. Okay, so in this it looks like a very simple loop. Only thing that I've achieved here is I've used this break statement. Okay, so just let's go through that one by one. First of all, obviously I'm just storing a variable user to find, and I'm storing the name whatever I enter there in this variable. Then I have an array of users which contains the name of the user, Aditya, Sid, Rakesh, Ashish. These are some of my friends. Okay, then we have a simple loop which looks like the one that we saw already, a for loop. Okay, and it says for I equal to 0, I less than equal to friend list dot length I plus plus. Okay, so again it's going through the same logic which we followed in the simple for loop. Okay, only in this case the array is friend list rather than the vegetable array. Okay, now it's applying a condition in between. So there is a bigger code block. Instead of just putting a alert message simply, we are actually putting a condition and checking for something. Okay, in that condition, okay, we are checking whether the person we are finding at that element, okay, that particular array element, okay, whether it's equal to the name of the person which we have entered. Okay, so it's writing friend list I equal to user to find, and if it's found, it says user found at position number I plus 1. Okay, break. Okay, so this is how the loop is proceeding. Okay, so before I show you the action, okay, I'll just do one more quick trick. I'll just write alert I. Okay, so let me just again run this program, and if I I'll hit refresh now. Okay, I'll enter Aditya. So it says 0 and then it says user found at position 1. Okay, let me try another name. Let me put Alok. Okay, so it says 0 1 2 3 4 5, then it says user position found at position 5. Now it should be making sense to you. Okay, if I look again at my Sublime text window, okay, and I look at the code, I see that what's really happening is this loop is running for all the users till the time that user is found. So that user is found, sorry. Okay, and if that user is found, the loop is breaking in between. See, when I entered Alok, the loop ran for 0 1 2 3, and and then it stopped at 5. Okay, sorry, 0 1 2 3 4. Okay, so this is the position where the user was found, and I'm printing that user found at position number I plus 1. Okay, rather than just printing I, because I is starting from 0. That doesn't make sense, that user found at position 0. Okay, because in real life we don't talk in 0 1 2 3 4, we talk 1 2 3 4 5, right? So I'm just printing number I plus 1. Okay, so that's I'm just incrementing it here. Okay, or you can obviously just write I also, that's perfectly your choice. Okay, it's either way you get the gist, that I am able to search the position of the user by iterating over this array, going through the element one by one using a loop, and trying to compare every element with the input that I have given. Okay, using this statement. Okay, and break, where the break is helping is, if I don't put this break statement, what will happen is the loop will continue for more users. Okay, it will go for this also and this also. Okay, so that doesn't make sense, because if I found my user, I should stop right there. So you have been able to create a basic search among an array using this for loop. Okay, so these are the kind of situation where break is really helpful, where we want to create search like condition, like, okay, if you're finding particular element in an array or a particular string in the paragraph or something like that, and you want to break at the point where you have found your guy, okay, or found the search element that you are trying to search, you can just use break statement there. Okay, so this is how break is used to break the loop. Whenever I hit this statement, this code block I am in, it will end. Okay, this loop will end, and whatever next is written, it will come. Okay, so this is how break statement works in JavaScript. Okay, and I really want you to practice this program on your end and experiment with it a lot, to tweak it to your end, and try it on your own to understand it better one by one. Okay, so I hope this logic is clear. Again, to walk through quickly, we had an input from user, we had a list of friends. Okay, what we did was we iterated to the list of the friend using an array. Okay, using the same old logic that we did, only this time inside that loop. Okay, what we did was we did a comparison whether the current person that I'm talking about is equal to the person that I want to search. If he's matching, then we are printing a message user found at position 0. Otherwise we are doing nothing. Okay, so in this part I'm not doing anything. I've just written a blank else statement. Okay, is as good as not writing it, but remember that I told you that you should not separate if and else. Okay, even if there is nothing to write here, just write it like this, else do nothing here. Okay, so that's a good programming practice to have. Okay, it does increase number of lines in the code. Okay, but it's a good program practice to have. Okay, so this is how you can use break statement in your program to break the loop. Okay, again we will be using break statement a lot in the coming programs. Okay, so moving on to the next loop we have, that is for in loop. So for in loop in JavaScript is a special loop. Okay, it's not available in most of the programming languages, in fact the most major ones also. Okay, it's meant to iterate over objects or arrays. Okay, so we specifically use this kind of loop, okay, to iterate over objects and arrays because it specializes in that. Okay, so I'll just give you few examples, okay, to help you understand how to apply for in loop in case of objects and in case of arrays. Okay, and then you can practice it on your own using the arrays and objects that we have declared previously in our previous lectures. Okay, one important point that is there to know about for in loop is in your real life programming, you may find this loop more often than expected. Okay, so people often deprioritize this or think that okay, maybe it's just an added advantage to JavaScript. But trust me, in real life programs, when you're writing big codes and big backends, etc., you'll find this loop very handy, and it's very useful, and you will find yourself using it more than for loops also sometime. Okay, so let me show you the implementation of this in JavaScript. Again, in case of objects, the problem statement is same, as arrays. We would have to know the name of the key to get the value of a particular element. Like in this case, so I'm trying to print, the name, email, and mobile number. Okay, I guess this is wrong. Okay, so name, email, and mobile number, and using alert messages, but I don't have an option to go through them using a loop. Obviously for loop will not apply here because there is no length available, there is nothing to iterate over in journal. Okay, so for that purposes we have a for in loop. So let me run this program for you first, okay, and then show you its implementation in for loop. Okay, so I'll open it in my browser. I'll hit refresh. It says Aditya, some email, and then so it's displaying all the three values that are there in this object. First value is the name, second value is the email, and third value is the mobile number. Okay, so now if I want to do it using for in loop, this is the syntax I have to follow. Okay, so I'll just delete that. I'll comment the loop. So this is how it looks like. For, then we have the statement, and then we have the statement to be executed. So this iteration statement is something like this. It says X in single user. Okay, so X is nothing but a iterator. It's a it's just like saying for I equal to 0 and then I less than equal to single user dot length. Only in this case you don't need to specify the length condition. Okay, so what it's doing automatically is it's going through each key one by one. Okay, so if I run this program, I'll get a similar output. Okay, let me show you. If I run it in my browser, it says Aditya, some email, and then the mobile number. Okay, so it's basically getting the same output. All it's doing is it's maintaining a X. Okay, and based on that X, it's going through the keys one by one. Okay, so first it's going to the name, then email, and then mobile number. Okay, so if I print alert X also, you will get the similar result. Okay, let me open that in browser. So the name is there, email is there. Okay, one second. So first it's says name, so I is name. Okay, then name is Aditya, then I is email is someemail@advisor.com, then I is mobile number, and it's 9999. So basically it's creating the key as the iterator. Okay, just like for loop used I equal to 0, a number iterator, it's using the key as an iterator. So that's why when I write this statement single user and X, basically what it's really converting into is this alert single user name. Okay, this is what it's converting into at the end of the day. Why? Because at one point this is name, then in the next part it's email and mobile number, and so on, and it goes on till the object has some key value pairs left. Okay, so this is how you apply a for in loop in the case of objects. Now your question in your mind would be, why would you want to do this? Okay, see, there can be n number of cases. Probably you're writing a big array based program, and then once you and that's an array of objects, let's say, and then you want to once you have entered that object, like you got the single object out of that array using for loop, but then you want to enter that object and do something with that information. That's where you can use for in loop in combination with for loop. Okay, or I think I can probably think of an easier example. Okay, probably in cases where I don't know the object length. Okay, like I told you that in JSON, like in JavaScript, in the object can be variable. Okay, array is like if it's an array of objects, the objects can vary from one another. Okay, so if you don't know the length of the object, or the kind of keys that are involved in that object, you don't know the name of them. Okay, then you can use this for in loop because it's going to automatically pick up the name using the loop. Okay, so that is one scenario which I can think on the top of my mind, where this kind of loop will be helpful. That will be helpful in the case where you don't know the name of the keys. Okay, in this key value pair, okay, if you wanted to access it, you will have to know the name of the key. But in case you don't know that, you can just use a for in loop and you can get the information. So this is how you apply a for in loop in the case of an object. Now let's apply the same loop in the case of arrays. Next case is the example where I have an array of objects, okay, where I want to iterate. So what I have is an array containing customer data, or and each object is containing two pieces of information. One is customer ID and then sign up date. Okay, so I'm storing the sign up date of two customers. One customer's ID is 123 and another customer ID is 1456. Okay, so now I want to iterate over this array, okay, and display the customer name. Okay, although obviously you can, oh sorry, I want to display the customer ID. So although you can obviously, you do it using a simple for loop also, okay, but you have a choice. In case you don't want to, know the length of the array beforehand, or you don't know what kind of data you are dealing with, okay, you can use a for in loop. So the way to do this is, again, the syntax is same. For x in customers, which is the name of the array, I write alert customer x dot customer ID. Okay, so if I just run this program, let me show you what happens. Okay, I'll open my browser, I'll hit refresh, it says 123 and 456. Okay, so basically it's displaying both the customer IDs of both the customers. Okay, 123 and 456. Okay, and if I look behind the scenes, what's really happening, if I alert x, then what, let's see what's happening in the browser. It says 0 and 123, 1 and 456. So basically it's it's created its own index in the x. Okay, and what's really happening is, that if you want to get information out of an array, you have to write something like this. You have to write customer 0, okay, or customer 1, something like that. Okay, so that effect is being achieved using this x variable, which it's automatically generating on the go. And then it's basically this statement is getting converted into customer 0 dot customer ID and customer 1 dot customer ID. Okay, so that's what is really happening behind the scene, which makes this loop work. Now it's almost magical. We have been able to actually reduce 3 statements that were there in the for loop into just one statement, and we don't have to care about the length, we don't have to care about the increments, we don't have to care about the entry. All of that is being taken care by this foreign loop. So that's why I prefer to use foreign loops in case of complicated data, whether it's an object or an array. I prefer to have foreign loop there rather than for loop. Okay, so it's your choice. If you want to, you can go for either of them, and later on, when you grow in experience, you can decide which one you want to really stick to. Okay, so that's up to you. So I hope this is clear to you, and that's all I had as far as loop is considered. Okay, so before I conclude this video, I have some do's and don'ts that I want to discuss with you. Okay, so these are some things, some points that you have to remember. You have to memorize this, okay, and keep it in your mind when you are writing JavaScript code, and especially when you are writing loops. Okay, first of all, the important thing is always make sure that your looping conditions are not ending in infinite loop. Okay, this can happen due to n number of reasons. I'll give you an example. I'll just go back to Sublime Text. I'll copy paste my while loop example. Remember, so I had this while loop example that I showed to you. Okay, where this loop was running something like this. When I open my browser, okay, it was displaying 5 4 3 2 1, and then it was ending. Okay, now let me do one thing. Just if I just remove one condition from this, which says while I equal to 0, while I is greater than 0. Okay, so if I look at just this program, it looks perfectly okay. People will think there's nothing wrong with it. I've written var I is equal to 5, then I've written var I less than equal to 5. Okay, well, it's fine. That means I is definitely going to count less than equal to 5. Okay, and it's going to print, and it can occur to you that okay, I minus there, so when I is going to get 0, it's going to end. Okay, but that's not the case. Let me just run this loop for you. Okay, so if I press refresh here, it says 5 4 3 2 1, then it says 0, then -1 -2 -3. So it's going to go in an infinite loop. Okay, see, so this has become an infinite loop now. It will never end. Okay, it will keep on going, because there are infinite number of digits in the negative side also. Okay, infinite number of decimals, negative decimals we have. Okay, so this is this kind of small mistake which you can make can lead to infinite loop that can crash your program, that can crash your computer, that can crash the server where it's running. Okay, and in turn it will affect a lot of users. So you should ideally check your conditions end to end before executing the program, or before writing the writing the final draft of the program. Okay, so this is one do that you have to do. Okay, and make sure that you're following it. Okay, and then another suggestion is don't write very big loops. Okay, it's not suggested, because loops really consume some memory. Obviously they are iterating over the whole data. They are saving you a lot of lines in the code, but they do take up a lot of memory of the system. Okay, so don't write very big loops, or don't try to iterate over very big set of data. You should there are other techniques for doing that. There is searching methods that are there for doing that. You will learn them in the advanced levels, and in the development part rather than the JavaScript part. Okay, but so don't deal with a lot of data, a lot of big loops. Like I would recommend for your level, you should not deal with loops that are more than 10 or 20 elements. Okay, for more than 20 elements you should not deal it with a simple loop or something like that. Okay, another suggestion is don't perform heavy function inside a loop. Okay, so right now we have barely perform any function. Like we have either just decrement something, or we have put a if else condition or something like that. What this line is trying to say is you should not put any heavy kind of function, or a functionality which takes up a lot of time to execute. Like for example, don't put a loop inside a loop. Okay, because especially when it's a very big data, because that is going to not end well for you. The inside loop, what will happen is, even before the inside statement is executed, there is a very good chance that your loop will move forward. Okay, so that will result into a bad user experience. Okay, and that way you'll not be able to get the desired result. Okay, so whenever you're writing loops, always make sure the block of code that you're writing inside the loop, that is not very big, that is not very memory intensive, that is not executing very difficult kind of calculation or something like that. Okay, so these are some points that you have to keep in mind while playing with loops in JavaScript. Okay, I know I barely scratched the surface as far as the topic is concerned, because this is one of the most important topics in programming. Okay, but like I said, instead of writing multiple programs that may not make sense, okay, to you, we will try to combine all these and write programs that will make sense to you. Okay, so we'll practice more and more loops in the coming videos. Okay, and also in the advanced levels. Okay, and obviously in the programs that we'll be writing during the development as well. Okay, so I would strongly recommend that you practice it on your end. Okay, and the next topic we have is functions in JavaScript. Okay, and I'm pretty sure that you'll love this. This is a different and refreshing kind of topic altogether. Okay, so thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.